Well, let me tell you folks, things have definitely gotten ugly, and they got ugly real fast. I mean, it's like one day we were all just going about our business, and the next thing you know, the world has turned into a real dumpster fire. I've been doing stand-up comedy for a while, but I've never had to deal with a crisis quite like this. It's like a bad joke that just keeps getting worse and worse. And yet, here I am, still trying to make you all laugh. It all started with this virus, one that no one had ever seen before. It was like something out of a science fiction movie, a tiny little organism that could bring the entire world to a standstill. Suddenly, people were getting sick and dying by the thousands, hospitals were overflowing, and the economy was in free fall. We all watched in shock as the world's most powerful nations struggled to respond. It was like a scene from the apocalypse, but with less action and more Zoom calls. And it wasn't just the virus itself that was causing chaos, there were all sorts of ripple effects too. With businesses shutting down and people losing their jobs, the economy tanked. People couldn't pay their mortgages or rent, and homelessness began to rise. Supply chains were disrupted, and grocery store shelves were stripped bare. It was like a scene from a dystopian novel, but with less hope and more bread flour. And if that wasn't bad enough, the virus also exposed all sorts of deep-seated issues in our society. We saw how racial and economic inequality can make it much harder for some people to stay healthy and survive a crisis. We saw how our healthcare systems, education systems, and social safety nets were woefully unprepared for a disaster of this magnitude. It was like a spotlight had been shown on all our shortcomings, and it was both humbling and depressing. But at least we've all got plenty of time to reflect on our own shortcomings now that we're all stuck at home. And let's not forget the social and political ramifications of this pandemic. People were stuck at home, and with nothing to do but watch the news, tensions were high. Conspiracy theories were flying, and it felt like everyone was arguing about something. The country was more divided than ever, and it was hard not to feel like we were all just shouting past each other. I guess we can all agree on one thing, though, 2020 was a terrible year. You know, I remember back when the biggest problem we had was deciding between a latte or a cappuccino. I mean, that was the big decision of the day, wasn't it? Should I go for a latte or a cappuccino today? Oh, the humanity. And now, it's like we're living in a post-apocalyptic nightmare. I mean, it's not like we weren't warned, right? We've all seen the movies where the world goes to hell in a handbasket. But did we listen? Of course not. We're too busy scrolling through our social media, watching cat videos, and arguing about politics with people we've never even met. I mean, can you believe it? The apocalypse is finally here and we're still fighting about whether pineapple belongs on pizza. And don't get me started on toilet paper, folks. I've never seen anything like it. It's like the world has gone mad. People were hoarding toilet paper like it was gold, and yet, no one seems to have a plan for when the apocalypse actually arrives. I mean, what are you gonna do with all that toilet paper when the zombies come? And let's not forget about the politics of the situation. It's been like watching a slow-motion train wreck. I mean, it's like a real-life version of House of Cards. But instead of Frank Underwood, we've got Donald Trump. And instead of Claire Underwood, we've got… well, actually, I don't know who we've got. But it's not good, folks. It's not good. I mean, it's not just the pandemic that's got us all on edge. It's like the whole world is falling apart and we're just trying to hold on for dear life. It's the economic crisis, it's the racial unrest, it's the political divisions. It's like all the horses of the apocalypse decided to have a meeting in our backyard and we're just trying to make sure they don't take a dump on our lawn. It's like we're living in a real-life version of the board game, Risk, but without the fun of attacking other countries. And let's talk about the economic crisis, shall we? I mean, it's like we're all just waiting for the next shoe to drop. Everyone's out of work, businesses are shutting down, and the stock market is like a roller coaster on crack. And yet, I've never seen so many people so interested in the stock market. It's like everyone's a stock market expert now. Oh, you should have bought Amazon stock when it was $200, now it's worth a fortune. Yeah, because buying stock in a pandemic is just like buying a lottery ticket. And let's not forget about the racial unrest. I mean, it's like we're living in the 60s all over again. Protests and riots in the streets, people being shot and killed by police. It's like we're stuck in some sort of time loop, like Groundhog Day, but with more tear gas. And yet, all we seem to do is argue about whether or not it's okay to wear a Black Lives Matter t-shirt. It's the 21st century, folks, you would think that would be a given. And let's not forget about the political divisions. I mean, it's like we're all stuck in some sort of Game of Thrones episode. We're constantly fighting about who's right and who's wrong, and yet no one seems to be able to agree on anything. It's like we're all just waiting for the next election to come around, so we can have another chance to argue. And speaking of politics, I have to say, it's like watching a soap opera where the stakes are the fate of the world. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm starting to feel like the only way we're going to get through this is if we all start wearing tinfoil hats. That's the only way to protect ourselves from the constant barrage of information, fake news and clickbaits. It's like we are under a constant cyber attack. I mean, have you been following the news lately? It's like a never-ending episode of Days of Our Lives, with more plot twists than Game of Thrones. You've got your Trump, your Biden, your Russia, and your China. It's like a never-ending cycle of drama and intrigue. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm starting to feel like I'm living in a spy novel. Or maybe a House of Cards season that went off the rails. And let's not forget the conspiracy theories. I mean, it's like the whole world has gone mad. Everyone's convinced that there's some sort of secret plot to take over the world, or that the government is hiding something from us. It's like we're all living in the X-Files, or Stranger Things. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm starting to feel like I'm living in an episode of Black Mirror. But it's not just the big issues that are making things ugly. I mean, look at social media. Back in the day, if you wanted to avoid someone, you had to go out and buy a new phone book. Now, all you have to do is unfollow them on Twitter. But, I mean, it's not like that's any less dramatic. I've seen people have more intense fights on social media than I have seen in real life. It's like we're living in a reality show, and social media is the producer who keeps stirring the pot. And let's not forget about the cancel culture. I mean, it's like we're all walking on eggshells, waiting to be the next one to be canceled. And it's not just celebrities and politicians, it's everyone. It's like social media has become the new court of public opinion, and the sentence is a lifetime of being blocked. It's like we've all become our own personal Stasi, always ready to report anyone who doesn't toe the line. And let's not forget the fake news. I mean, it's like we're living in an episode of The Twilight Zone. Everyone's convinced that the world is ending, and no one can agree on what's real and what's not. It's like we're all stuck in a giant game of telephone, and no one knows what the original message was. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm starting to feel like I'm living in a Matrix episode. And let's not forget about the constant need for validation. I mean, it's like social media has become our new drug, and we're all just looking for our next fix. We're all just looking for that little notification that says, someone liked your tweet. It's like social media has become the new currency, and we're all just trying to make sure we have enough followers to be deemed valuable. And it's not just the way we're interacting with each other that's changed, it's the way we're interacting with ourselves. I mean, have you noticed that people are taking more selfies than ever before? It's like we're all trying to prove to the world that we exist. We're all just trying to capture that one perfect angle, that one perfect filter that'll make us look like we're living our best lives. But the truth is, we're all just trying to hide the fact that we're all just a bunch of broke, lonely, and miserable people. And it's not just people, it's animals too. We've got a whole generation of ducks and squirrels who are better at taking selfies than I am. I mean, have you seen the photos of that duck who took a selfie with his reflection on a pond? It's like he's a professional fashion photographer or something. And let's not forget about that famous selfie squirrel, he's got more followers than most of us. It's like we're living in a world where animals are better at selfies than we are. And let's not forget about the obsession with likes and followers. I mean, it's like we're all trying to compete with each other to see who can get the most likes. It's like we're all trying to win some sort of social media popularity contest. And the sad thing is, most of us are losing. It's like we've all become the court jester in our own lives, always trying to make other people laugh, but never getting the recognition we deserve. And let's not forget about how it's affecting our self-perception. I mean, it's like we're all constantly comparing ourselves to other people. We're always looking at other people's lives and thinking, why can't my life be like that? We're all just trying to prove to the world that we're happy, but the truth is, we're all just a bunch of sad, lonely people. I mean, it's like we've all become a bunch of narcissistic monsters. We're so focused on ourselves that we're losing touch with reality. But let's be honest here, that's always been the case with humans, but now it's just more public. It's like everyone's become a one-man or one-woman show, and everyone wants to be the star. We're all just trying to make sure that everyone knows how great we are. And let's not forget about the constant need for attention. I mean, it's like we're all just looking for our next fix. We're all just looking for that next like, that next comment, that next validation. It's like we've all become addicted to social media, and we're all just trying to make sure we have enough followers to be deemed valuable. And let's not forget about the constant need for perfection. I mean, it's like we're all just trying to make sure that the world sees the best version of ourselves. We're all just trying to make sure that the world sees us in the best light possible. But the truth is, no one's perfect. We're all just a bunch of flawed human beings, and we're all just trying to hide it from the world. And let's not forget about how it's affecting our self-perception. I mean, it's like we're all constantly comparing ourselves to other people. We're always looking at other people's lives and thinking, why can't my life be like that? We're all just trying to prove to the world that we're happy, but the truth is, we're all just a bunch of sad, lonely people. And I know, you're thinking, this is all well and good, but how are we supposed to fix it? Well, I don't know about you, but I'm starting to think that the only solution is to start living like the Amish. I mean, have you ever seen an Amish person on a Zoom call? No, you haven't, because they're too busy living their lives and not worrying about what's happening on the internet. They're too busy living in the moment, and not worrying about capturing that moment for the world to see. I mean, have you ever seen an Amish person checking their notifications? No, you haven't. Because they're too busy working the land and living off the land. They're not worried about getting the perfect Instagram shot, they're too busy making sure they have enough food for the winter. It's like the Amish have figured out the secret to life, and it's not having a smartphone. And let's not forget about the simplicity of the Amish lifestyle. I mean, it's like they've got it figured out. They're not worried about keeping up with the Joneses, they're just worried about keeping up with the cows. It's like they've got the perfect balance of work and play, and they're not worried about the rest of the world. And let's not forget about the community of the Amish lifestyle. I mean, it's like they've got it figured out. They're not worried about likes and followers, they're just worried about making sure they've got a roof over their head and food on the table. It's like they've got the perfect balance of community and individuality, and they're not worried about the rest of the world. But until then, let's all just try to keep a sense of humor about it all. Because if we can't laugh, what's the point? I mean, let's face it, the world is a pretty ridiculous place, and if we can't find a way to laugh at it, then we're in big trouble. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, except the needle is laughter and the haystack is the world. And who knows, maybe things will get better, but I'm not holding my breath. I mean, I've been around long enough to know that things have a way of going wrong, and sometimes they don't get better. But hey, that's life, right? It's like trying to catch a falling star, it's not going to happen, but it's still fun to try. But hey, at least we've got cat videos, right? I mean, let's face it, in a world that's falling apart, we need something to keep us going. And there's nothing better than a good cat video to take your mind off things. It's like a little ray of sunshine on a cloudy day. And honestly, who doesn't love a good cat video? I mean, it's like watching a tiny little ball of fluff do something hilarious, and it's the best thing since sliced bread. So, let's all just try to keep a sense of humor about it all. It's not going to be easy, but it's better than the alternative. And who knows, maybe we'll get through this and look back at it with a laugh. And if not, well, at least we'll have some cat videos to keep us company.